This video segment is about standards 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4. That is, it's about competencies that go beyond the universal competencies covered in standard 5.1, which were addressed in a separate video. As always, you should feel free to pause the video and look more closely at any individual slide. And we recommend that you download the slides and look at the accompanying notes, which are more detailed than the actual video presentation. And please remember that the videos are not intended to be a substitute for attending the Accreditation Institute or reviewing the multitude of resources that COPRA makes available to programs, including the self-study instructions themselves. So let's start by looking at Standard 5.2. Standard 5.2 is titled Mission-Specific Required Competencies. What the heck does that mean? Well, mission-specific means that it is drawn, these are competencies that are based on your program's mission. And required means that they are competencies you expect all students in your program to acquire. Now, how is this different than Standard 5.1 and the 5 universal competencies that were addressed in a separate video? Standard 5.2 was included in NASPA's accreditation standards to accommodate those programs that have competencies that they don't see fitting into any of the 5 universal competency domains. So if in the process of responding to Standard 5.1, you feel that your program's mission-driven competencies are fully addressed, you don't need to respond to Standard 5.2. It's optional. It's only if there are some competencies required of all your students that are not covered by Standard 5.1 that you would need to respond to Standard 5.2. One way to know this is to look at the curriculum mapping exercise that was briefly explained in the video segment on Standard 5.1 and which is also addressed in greater detail at the Accreditation Institute. If you find through this curriculum mapping exercise that you have a course, a required course in your program that doesn't contribute to any of the 5 universal competencies, but you're not willing to toss it out, your faculty believe it still contributes something important, then you need to include that competency addressed by that course and report that information in Standard 5.2. So this is entirely optional, but if you decide that you need to report in Standard 5.2, then you need to present the information in the form of defining the competency, explaining how you measure it, actually gathering data, and then analyzing that data to determine if your students have the intended competency. And this needs to be included in part of your overall program assessment plan. Now let's look at Standard 5.3. Standard 5.3 is titled Mission-Specific Elective Competencies. So what does that mean? This deals with the specializations or concentrations or tracks or areas or options, whatever you might call them within your program. I'm going to use the term specialization because it feels most natural to me. It doesn't matter what you call these in your program. So if you offer a specialization in public finance, presumably you expect that those students will have some advanced knowledge, advanced skills, advanced competencies beyond those required in your universal competencies for all students in your program. So your task here is to think about, for whatever specializations you offer, whether it's in emergency management, local economic development, public finance, environmental policy, nonprofit administration, healthcare administration, whatever it might be. What are the special competencies that are required of students or expected of students who pursue that area? Now this is labeled elective competencies, mission-specific elective competencies, because not all students are required to pursue that specialization. But this is not talking about just individual elective courses. This is about a specialization or a concentration or a track. So as of 2014, when we're recording these videos, COPRA does not require that you have completed a full assessment cycle for your specializations, but it does require that you demonstrate progress in defining what the competencies are that go along with each specialization, and that you demonstrate a commitment to working toward program level assessment of those specializations. So that means this needs to be discussed in your program level assessment plan, even if you haven't gone through the full assessment cycle of defining, measuring, collecting data, and analyzing that data. Even though COPRA as of 2014 is not requiring that full assessment process be completed, they are still going to be evaluating your specializations on 3 basic criteria: mission relatedness, truth in advertising, and specialization quality. What do each of those mean? Well, mission relatedness means that you offer certain specializations because they make sense in the context of your mission. So you need to explain, why are you offering specializations in certain areas and not in others, and that those decisions were grounded in your mission. Truth in advertising refers to the fact that if you tell students or prospective students that they can pursue this specialization, that you actually offer the courses with sufficient frequency that they can complete that specialization in a reasonable amount of time. And finally, specialization quality means that the courses within that specialization are taught by faculty who are qualified according to your program's definition of academically or professionally qualified faculty. Again, concepts that are addressed in other videos. So let's take a look at Standard 5.4. Standard 5.4 is titled Professional Competencies. This essentially gets at what distinguishes a professional master's degree from a traditional master's degree. And that is that students are learning not just from lectures, readings, and exams and theses, but also from experience, from doing, from engaging with practitioners. We expect that an applied or professional master's degree accredited by NASPA is not just about theory, nor is it just about practice, but it's about praxis. It's about the intersection of theory and practice. So there needs to be some practical element in your program. Now, the reporting process for Standard 5.4, you'll be glad to know, is actually really simple. There's a drop-down list of a whole series of possible forms of experiential learning, and you're simply asked to indicate, is this a required element of your program? Is it an encouraged or recommended component of your program? Is it optional? Or is it not a part of your program at all? The expectation of COPRA is that a program will have a holistic or comprehensive approach to providing professional competencies. That is, you won't rely just on a single experiential learning approach, but rather several. And as always, that your decisions about which kinds of experiential learning will best contribute to professional competencies for your students will be based on your program's mission. Remember that this is not just about accreditation. This is about improving the quality of public service.